stage this year. So without further ado, let's hear it for Wavedash.
All right, thank you guys so much for being here. We're super excited to be back at SmashCon this year. Hey everybody, Jason here. Um, I'm Jason Rice. I am a creative director and co-founder of the studio, and joining me today is
I'm Matt Fairchild. I co-founded the studio with Jason and also took on the CEO mantle. So basically, I'm in charge of making sure these guys can make the game, but also all of the community and social media. And I just wanted to, go ahead, Adam.
I'm Adam Oliver. I'm a character designer. I just develop movesets and change game mechanics and do a lot of tuning.
And I just wanted to start with how really special it is that we're here. It was about this time last year that Jason and I were sitting up on the stage at Super Smash Con at a panel titled How Smash Can Get You a Job in the Video Game Industry. And we were both doing kind of different things at the time, but we also had this idea for a game that we wanted to make. And we knew that we wanted to make it. And we knew that it was the game we wanted to play, but we didn't know if it was a game that all of y'all wanted to play. And it was being here in this crackling atmosphere dedicated to Smash and to platform fighters that we said, all right, let's do it. Let's go out there and build the next genre-defining platform fighter.
Great. So in addition to the three of us we've got up here on the stage, we've got some other incredible people working with us. Our technical co-founder and lead engineer is Alex Erlinson. He's back in San Francisco right now supporting us remotely. And then also Josh Singh is an art director who just joined us from Riot Games. In addition to these guys, we've got a variety of contractors and other helpers. One of our investors is here today, Chris. Chris is super awesome. He's done incredible work for us. And so we're really proud of the team that we're assembling. And we think this team's going to be able to do some really great things together.
And our mission is simple. We want to build a fantastic platform fighter built from the ground up for the esports, Twitch, and watchable era.
Yeah, and I think to accomplish that, I think the team's probably getting sick of hearing me say this over and over again, but our goal is to make something that's easy to play, right? It's easy to learn. It's something that a wide variety of people should be able to get into and enjoy, but it should be hard to master. It should take a long time to develop the skills it takes to become a professional player, to keep excelling in this type of game, and it should be something that lasts a long time. And the third piece is something that I think a lot of people aren't paying attention to yet, but should be in this era of Twitch, is it should be endlessly watchable. It should be as much fun to watch as it is to play. And I think that's one of the key things that's made the platform fighting genre incredibly successful as an esport, as a community, and all of that, because we don't just love playing it together, we love watching it and cheering for each other and jeering at each other and those things.
The best way that we can accomplish all of these goals is to combine community knowledge with development resources.
So a platform fighter, there's a lot of ideas about what that is. So I just wanted to really quickly run over what we think a platform fighter means. A platform fighter is a fighting game where it's all about stage control, right? You eliminate opponents not through depleting a health bar, but by building up damage on them and knocking them out of a blast zone. And you all know this because you're here playing Smash Brothers games at Super Smash Con, but it's something important to address as we're setting our goals for ourselves. And then another thing we think is really incredible about this genre is this whole idea of improvisational combos that arise out of game systems like directional influence, the knockback system, those sorts of things. So it makes the game, I think Adam can probably explain this a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. In the platform fighting genre, we observe combo trees being developed rather than just find your best combo. And it's really exciting to see players express themselves through the combos they decide to do.
Yeah, it creates a style of play where I can watch somebody playing the same character and tell it's this player versus this player, because you're seeing the types of decisions that they tend to make in this really interesting combo tree. And I think that really makes the game special. It lets you express yourself more than you typically can in other competitive games. So obviously platform fighting, it started with the Smash Brothers series, and you guys are all here at Super Smash Con, so you're familiar with that. But it's branched out, it's become a genre now. It's not just a single game series. And some of these games haven't been, the best received, even if they're pretty good games. Others they rose up out of the community and are actually pretty fun. And Dan's here this week. Make sure you go try out Rivals. It's super fun. We love that guy. And so Dan is kind of proof that this is becoming a genre. It's more than just a single game series. And so we think Wavedash has a place in that ecosystem. Okay. So why build a platform fighter? First of all, it goes back to that whole easy to learn, hard to master thing. This series, or this genre, is incredibly accessible to a lot of different people, and it's very watchable. It's very easy to understand when someone's off the side of the stage, they're in jeopardy. Those types of things make this a really great business opportunity for us. And we talk about blue oceans versus red oceans in business, and the general idea around that is that if something is popular, if it's very competitive, that's a red ocean. That means that there's wars going on, there's blood in the water. Blue ocean means that there's opportunity to grow, and we really think that this genre has a ton of space to grow. There's lots of opportunities for us to bring more people in, to create new game modes, game systems that are based on this core idea, but expand it and grow it.
And you all know this because you've been playing this game for years. We actually did a poll of some people that were playtesting with us yesterday, and the average length of time for playing competitive Smash was 8 years from people that responded to it. And what we've seen happen over and over again in the gaming industry is when you have community passion teaming up with professional development resources, not only can the results be spectacular, they can be genre defining. And these are all games that you're very familiar with, and this is only the surface of games that have happened when you team up with people. And so this is why we're reaching out to the community over and over again, and why we bring folks like Adam on, because ultimately you know the game that you want to play, and that's the game that we want to build.
So we're going to run into some challenges, and I think this is the important meat of the presentation today. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and it would be a red ocean. It wouldn't be a blue ocean opportunity. There wouldn't be room to grow and bring more people into this. So we want to just touch these really quickly and give you guys a sense of how we're thinking about game development, how we're thinking about solving problems, and how that we think we're going to achieve success with a title. So the first thing is staying community focused. And this is super important to Matt and I. As we said before, we got our industry careers from being a part of a community, this community, and communities like this. So it's important to us that we continue to connect with the community, but there are challenges that arise when you're doing that.
And it's about keeping us honest, where the community is really, really good at identifying problems and telling a game developer where to look. And the trap that game developers fall into is you start developing things in a vacuum, and you make all these decisions that they are perfectly good decisions at the time, but because you don't have all of the information at your disposal, it ends up being anti-player. And so Adam is going to talk more about how we're solving that.
Yeah, we've surrounded ourselves with our community council. These are people from the community like Hugs, Cactar, Warchamp, and they're great at reminding us that we're not making this game just for us. We're making it for all of you, people that like this genre, and they keep us honest in that regard. They're like, hey, I think I've got this issue with where you're going, and it's like a whole different idea that we didn't think of. And we like to remain engaged with the community in ways like social media, streams, etc.
Great. So the next part is meeting and exceeding expectations. And this is important because, frankly, guys, Nintendo makes incredible products. They make great games. There's a reason why we're all here. There's a reason why we're continuing to play these games after all these years. I mean, Smash 64 came out in, 1998? And there's over 300 people playing it this week. So there's a high standard of quality that's already been set in the genre that it's important that we meet. And the stuff that we're doing with the community and all of that is helping us get there, but it's challenging. It takes a lot of effort to get there. So exceeding these expectations is a challenge, and the first step to getting there is hiring great people. And I get to talk about this guy for just a second here. So Adam actually originally joined us as part of the community council, and as I started bringing questions and problems to him in terms of character design, game design, those sorts of things, he had incredible insights for me. And it became really apparent to me that his experience working on Project M, his connection with this community, his time as a gamer, plus his raw natural talent, he was well positioned to be a really great game designer. And so we're super glad to have him on board. But we also just hired our art director to Riot Games. He has made some incredibly I'll use my little 80s kid term here. He's incredibly rad characters for Riot Games, right? And so Josh is helping us kind of redefine our art pipeline and our character pipeline and make some really incredibly good decisions. And then obviously, like the whole playtest thing, that's about connecting with you early. So we're doing some private playtests here or there to make sure that the game engine, even when we're pre-alpha, is doing the things we want it to do so that when we start pouring more development resources in and we bring more people in, the game's already in a state where we can develop all these other assets and create great content for you with confidence.
And we are looking for a way to draw you into that. The number one question that we get is, can I play test? How can I be involved in an alpha or something like that? That is something that we're actively working on because we're really lucky to have so many people that want to play test. So make sure that you're following us on Twitter because when we start opening up to play testers, that's where we'll announce it.
Great, so meeting and exceeding expectations, we've got some things that we've already worked on. I just want to give Adam a moment to comment on that.
Yeah, so something that we observe in the platform fighter genre is that a lot of people love the ability to move. Like, it's a lot more organic than a lot of other esports games, and people really feel like it's really fun to move. It's a challenge to be able to move well, and when they can, it's like really satisfying. And one way that we'd like to exceed expectations is addressing some of the flaws that we see elsewhere in the genre. For example, port priority. Seeing people have to rock, paper, scissors to get first port so that their grabs win if there's a tie is pretty frustrating. And we've already implemented a system in our game where if people grab on the same frame, then there's just a grab release.
So we're looking for ways to exceed your expectations, to find the little problems in the genre and start to fix those so that you're not seeing the same problems or just accepting the same problems over and over again. Which I think actually leads us into the next topic. Matt, did you want to tackle this one?
Oh, well, hold on. Yeah, this is so essentially there's a lot out there right now. We've been playing Smash Brothers for years, but there is a lot that can be done better. And when we were first talking about how we wanted to build this game, part of it was the Dota 2 versus League of Legends question. Do we want to build exactly this other game but update it with our own IP and refresh the mechanics but try to skew close to that? And we learned that that's not really what people want, so that it needs to be modern, it needs to be similar but different, and it needs to solve a lot of the pain points that you have that we kind of take for granted. Examples for this are, we want to expose an API to players and streamers that can give you access to more data and hook directly into your stream to make it easier for tournaments to display good information to people. We want a fantastic training mode. This is something that most fans might not use very much, but the ones that need a good training mode with moving it forward frame by frame and showing hitboxes and all the stuff that you can do to really improve your tech skill is really important. And another one is matchmaking that Jason's going to talk about.
Sure. So this is just a really simple comparison here. But I don't know how many of you play Overwatch, but when you compare it to Smash for Wii U, and again, I want to say I love Nintendo. They make incredible products, but there's some UX challenges here, right? Some user experience challenges. When you want to get online in Smash for Wii U or Smash for 3DS, it takes 10 inputs before you can actually find an opponent and start playing. So you're wasting, a minute and a half basically going through menus to get to what you really want to do. Whereas if you go into Overwatch, it's 2 clicks. You click play, and then you pick the mode you want to play. So there's lots of little optimizations that we can make, even just in the game client, not even talking about gameplay yet, that can make the process less painful for you and make it easier for you to get in and do the things you want to do. So here's, I think, the one that you guys are all here for, right? Character design. So, the challenge for us is we don't have 30 plus years of incredibly iconic game characters to draw from to create our character roster. We are building IP from scratch. And so for us, it's super important that we create characters that connect to players. And to achieve that, we need super awesome people like Josh and Adam helping us make good decisions on design and visual design. But we also need to make sure that we're actively planning for diversity. And I mean this in a couple of different ways. One of those ways is we need to actively plan around, here, I'll go to my path to success. We need to actively plan around different styles of fun. So people have come up to me and say, hey, you're going to have this archetype. Hey, you're going to have this archetype. Is there going to be a sword fighter? Is there going to be a space animal? Is there going to be a floaty? This is my Twitter every day. And the reality is, like, people have styles of fun that really appeal to them. So it's important that we hit on that. But it's also important that we create inclusive, interesting characters that no matter who you are in the world, there's a character that speaks to you from a visual design standpoint, from a personality standpoint, those sorts of things. And we're starting to see that trend in the game industry right now. We're seeing some of that in League of Legends. We saw a lot of that in Overwatch. But we think it's important as a studio that we achieve that through our character design so that we can hit a super broad audience, like I said before. It's easy to learn. It also needs to be accessible to a lot of people. So creating a character, like my goal is, by the time we're done creating characters for this game, no matter who you are in the world, you can look at the roster and be like, that's the character that speaks to me. I want to play with them. I love that character. This spotlight section here, I want to talk a little bit about what game designers do. And I know you're getting a lot of me right now. I'm going to give Adam a chance to talk.
Let me set the stage for that, because like part of why we're doing this is we want y'all to be included in the process. So rather than just show a character, we want to show a little bit about how the sausage is made, because then that helps you understand the decisions that go into it, and it ultimately helps you give better feedback, like helps you better define, this is what I want and this is what I would like in the game. So this is why in all of the reveals that we do, we ask Jason, what is bottom-up design? What is top-down design?
Yeah, so this is kind of in game design academia, when you're part of this field where you're studying the process of game design. They talk about two different types of design, bottoms-up versus top-down. So bottom-up game design, you're starting with your verbs and your mechanics, the idea of the mechanics of the character or the feature, and you work your way up until you have features that feel good, and then you layer on context and theme on top of it. So you would start with, we want a character of this archetype, and then you start solving those problems from a design standpoint, and then you decide, what skin are we going to wrap around this so that it's appealing? You can also do it the opposite way. You can start with a big theme. You can start with a big idea, like, we want a character who is gothic horror. And you start with that, and you say, okay, if we do that, how do we work down from that big idea into game mechanics that feel fun? And I'd encourage you guys, if you are interested in game design, check out Mark Rosewater is the lead designer on Magic the Gathering, and he does some great talks about bottoms-up versus top-down design. That would be really helpful for you guys to learn that sort of stuff. But we can do character design in a platform fighter the same way. So we've already revealed the character Ashani, and Adam's going to talk a little bit about the process by which we created this character.
Yeah, Ashani is a great example of a bottoms-up design, because we wanted to build a character that was a speedy brawler archetype that's found in other games. And there are some issues that are like inherent with the archetype that we wanted to hit here, such as the ability to hit short characters, recovery, and their grounded normals. We really wanted to make sure that Ashani could deal with all these things in a way that's balanced and fair and fun.
Yeah, so when Adam and I started working on the Ashani character, we sat down and we said, what are the problems that we want to solve for this archetype, right? We came up with this list of things, and then we started talking through her kit, and how do we resolve these things? A lot of these characters tend to get, even though they're already speedy, moves that accelerate them and move them around, and so they either become like overbearing to extreme, or they become useless and you don't use those moves. So we're looking for ways to connect the dots with their, particularly with their specials kit, to make sure that they complement the character archetype instead of fighting it. So we're going to reveal a character to you in just a second here, and we're kind of excited about this one. We decided for a top-down design, we knew that a space animal type character is quintessential for this genre, right? There's not just Fox in Melee, but there's characters like Zetterburn in Rivals that people kind of expect this archetype to come to life, but they still want it to be balanced, fun, and fair. So we started with the idea of, we're going to create a space animal, and then in talking through like theme and context and all of that, one of the things that stood out to us is players love to argue on Twitter about who's the GOAT. who is the greatest of all time? And since we were thinking about animals, and then we had this thing about goat on Twitter all the time, we were like, let's bring those two things together. Let's answer that question. Who is the goat? Well, the goat is this character, because he is a goat.
And this is where y'all will want to get your cell phones out.
So we wanted to, once we had that working our way top down, we said, okay, we've got a space animal. That's the big theme. The context is that he's a goat. How do we align this move, this archetype, with the character design? So we did a lot of stuff where a goat has these big horns. These horns should have an impact, right? So we should do moves that emphasize that instead of just copying what came before. So this character, while Ashani is probably, 20 or 30% something familiar to you from characters like Captain Falcon and other speedy brawlers in this genre, and 70 to 80% original, this character is the other way around, but there's a unique flavor to him that comes out of the top-down design. So the design process, now that we've got Josh on board in particular, is we create a ton of concept art. We work our way through things. So I'm going to show you guys probably about 10% of what we worked on, but it's indicative of the type of work that it takes to create a really cool character. So one of the first things you do when you're creating a character like this is you start looking for silhouettes that feel good. So you can see here, and this is just one of the explorations, we looked at different body types, we looked at different head types, we looked at different horn shapes, and started working our way through those things. Another thing that we wanted to do is, oh no, it didn't load. Oh no. That's the character, everybody. Missing numbers. That's all right. The next one will load.
Yeah.
So next we wanted to, this was a personality slide. I'll upload the slide deck someplace so you guys can see this art. But you want to find personality in the character. So we did a bunch of facial studies and all of that. Then we start looking at more specific design. So we're looking at costume types. We're looking at how his legs should be shaped, those sorts of things. And this is all just a piece of the explorations that we did along the way. So once we've done all of that, we go out and we sculpt a character. And once it's in 3D, we start looking at how do we solve some... Oh yeah, there we go. We start looking at how do we solve some problems around the visual design once it's in 3D. So this is a work in progress. We got a couple more weeks of work left on this. So some things are subject to change. But we've got this really cool goat character. He's a little bit cocky. He's a little bit happy. He's got his own unique design to his pistol and a cool jetpack on his back to help him fly around when he's recovering. And this type of character design, it takes a lot of work, and we still have a little ways to go, but we're really excited about him. And so this kind of illustrates the top-down versus bottoms-up stuff that we were talking about before.
I guess another thing that illustrates this is with the Shawnee, we started with the character and we built it up and we named her pretty late in the process. But the Space Goat has had the name Kid for the entirety of the design process, and he's kept it. Because of course he did.
Yeah, so just to wrap things up here, the last challenge is just shipping it and supporting it.
Yeah, we want to build a game that lasts for 20 years. Like, we think that Melee is a great starting point in terms of longevity. And we want to support the community while doing it, and also grow the pie, grow the family. We believe that we can invite so many more people into the Platform Fighter family, and we can share with them what it is that has all of us attending Super Smash Con today.
Great, so I think we've got a little bit of time for Q&A here, about 10 minutes. Do you want to...
Yeah, so if you have questions, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand, and then I'll pass you the mic. If you would stand up, ask your question, and then we'll go from there. So, questions? We'll start in the front.
And if your question's for someone particular, let us know.
Hi, so I don't know how much this is a priority to you guys, but I think something that's really underutilized in fighting games is the single player, and specifically using the single player as a way to teach players about the game itself, like how to use different mechanics and different challenges, or like even introducing them to different situations they may come across in gameplay. So what is your goal for a single player, and is that something you're going to be keeping in mind if you're having single player at all?
So the staff ask me this question all the time too. I'll give you the answer that I give them. When I'm ready to certify the core game engine as an alpha, and I'm confident that the gameplay feels exactly where it needs to be, then I'm ready to start developing single player content, because what I don't want to do is start developing single player stuff and then make changes to the core game engine that totally messes up all of the single player content. So yes, we will have it. Yes, we're going to create some cool modes that you can play by yourself or you can play casually with your friends. But we probably won't start development on that until, I'd say, winter. Once I'm confident that I can put my alpha build stamp on the core game engine and we can start developing the secondary and tertiary features.
And you hit on something important. My favorite type of single player content is the kind that also teaches you the skills necessary to play the game in multiplayer. And so if you look at other games in the genre, like Break the Targets is fantastic because it teaches you how to use all of your move sets. For the platforms, because it's a platform fighter, you have to learn how to move. And there is a lot more design space that we can do there.
Is there another question? I think there was another hand over here.
So my question is, first off, what kind of platforms will it be? Is it just PC or is it like?
You want to tackle that one?
We're launching on PC and Mac, so we're developing on both of those platforms. That's just our laser focus right now because we don't have to go through certification. We can release the game when we want to. We can look at things like Steam for distributing it. And we think the time is right for a really fantastic platform fighter on PC.
But
now, there's already some good ones out there, but like for more of those.
Yeah, but that brings me to the next concern, which is the advantage of something like League over this is that the control scheme of like a PC is designed for playing that.
Right.
What is your plan for controllers, or to play it on?
So it's a multi-pronged thing. The game has to be playable and fun on a keyboard. And so we're making some design choices around that, but then we also already have controllers functional. So we play test with GameCube controllers. We also have Xbox and PS4 controllers working, and we have fully remappable controls. We think about it as a customer journey. The majority of players who play the game for the first time are going to play with the keyboard, and they have to be able to have fun at the lower ranks and in casual modes. As they progress onward, and similar to how you see in the fighting game community, most people play with the controller, but then they eventually advance onto a fight stick when they want to start getting more and more serious. So we're careful about throwing around the parity word because different control schemes are different, and it ends up being a deeply personal choice. But the promise that we can offer is that we are designing around being able to start on a keyboard, being able to play with the controller of your choice, and offering extensively remappable controls. I don't know if y'all had anything to add on that.
Great. I think there was a question in the yellow up here.
Well, so first let me say I got a quick chance to play the game, and it's wonderful. I really enjoyed it. It felt great. I love it, and I really hope everyone in the audience gives a chance when they get the opportunity to. Obviously, this is very early, but it's awesome. I love it. But my question is, you guys brought up competitive play, and your comparison was Wii U and Overwatch. And the most glaring difference between those to me is that Overwatch has a skill rating system and a ranking built into it, whereas Wii U has nothing like that. Do you envision having the ability to climb a ladder online so we can compete against other players around the world and really feel like we're getting somewhere once the game launches?
Sure. I don't see any reason not to have some sort of ranked gameplay. It's a great way for players to test their skills and progress. Like playing players that are similar to your skill level is some of the most fun you can ever have, no matter how good you are. So it sounds like a great idea to me.
And I think something that's important to remember is different people have fun in different ways, right? So your path to competitive play usually rolls through casuals. And there's probably not a lot of people, even in this room, all these years later, since 64 and Melee came out, that started playing Smash Brothers super competitively right out the bat, right? You probably played with items with your friends or your siblings or whoever having fun. So we need to create opportunities for everybody to have fun, and one of those is going to be competitive ranked play.
Great. Over here, we're going to switch the sides.
Hi, Praxis.
Hello. I wanted to ask really quick what you guys are thinking as far as business model. Are you going to be, if this is something you're willing to discuss, are you going to be doing something like League where it's free but you pay for competitive features and microtransactions, or something more like Overwatch and StarCraft where you pay for the full game up front?
That is a regular conversation that Matt and I have, and we have with Chris here, one of our investors. He's got some really great insights into those sorts of things. We want to get as many people to play the game as possible. And so part of that is creating some version of the game that's free and get people in so they can have fun with it and experience it. How we end up getting people to pay after that is something we're discussing and we're researching a lot of right now. We're actually having the team play some other competitors and do some breakdowns on them and kind of try and figure out what we think feels right and what we think is going to be best for the community. So I will try and gracefully say I don't have a firm answer for you yet, other than we want you to be able to download the game and have fun with it for free. After that, we're going to have to make a decision as best as we can about how we get people to pay for the game in a fun way that like adds value to their life instead of sucks money out of their wallets.
And so a little bit more on that. We did an Ask Me Anything on Reddit a while back, and this was a major topic there. And at the time, the model we were looking at most closely was the League of Legends model, where we know that we want the game to be free to play. We know it'll have skins, it'll have characters. This is an area where the community had very strong opinions about it, where League of Legends is the most successful video game in the world, but there is also pushback on having a rotating free cast of characters that you monetize. So we're looking at literally every major free-to-play game that is out there right now for what is the best model. And we would also like to talk to you more about like what is a way that this is fun and fair, but also allows Jason to feed his kids.
I think there's a question right next. Yeah.
So we're at Super Smash Con, right? Y'all are talking all about online play, ranking system. How are we going to bring this game into this grassroots community that is Smash? How are we going to bring this to LANs or local centers? Because like the Smash, we've got consoles and all that. For having distributing to a PC, it's much harder to bring an entire PC here, hook up the right adapters for your controllers, and get rolling. Like, how do you plan on bringing it to the grassroots community?
Yeah, I think that's a problem that we're going to continue to work on solving from a software perspective. We want it to be as easy as connecting a controller to your laptop and being able to play. We should, we don't want to create a game that is so resource intensive that you can't play it on your laptop and have fun. So if you want to have a LAN with it, you should be able to, have a stack of laptops that you just pop up, plug in whatever controller you want to use, and it recognizes it and you go. But there are software challenges to doing that, and it's something that we're going to be actively exploring as we develop. And I mean, that's the reason why right out the gates, I mean, when we were probably only 2 months into development when Alex went ahead and put together support for controllers so that we could start figuring out how hard this is going to be. And so far it hasn't been terrible. There are some challenges, but if we do it right by the time we launch, you're going to be able to just say, oh, this is a controller I have in hand, and you can go in the game and it'll work.
And a big part of that is developer support. We are here because Smash is an incredibly social game, and that means getting people together online, but also getting them together in physical space. And so developer support means more than just releasing content month after month. It means interacting with tournaments so that we are not hosting the only tournaments. A big reason why we're sponsoring Super Smash Con is really just that we want Super Smash Con to exist. So, like, we love coming here. And if we can build tools and provide resources that lets more people host tournaments and host these events, then that's where you can start seeing this grassroots community growing.
Yeah, some of you guys might not know, but this is kind of home for me. I grew up in Maryland, and I started hosting Smash Brothers tournaments in 2003, right across the bridge. First tournament I ever hosted was about this time of year in 2003 in Clinton, Maryland, and Azin and Chillin and the H2YL crew came out to it. So we love Super Smash Con. It's like home for me. It was kind of where this idea for this studio and this game like finally coalesced. And we're super excited to be here. And so we want to continue to support experiences like this.
All right, I think we have time for 2 more questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand nice and high.
Yep.
So one of the most important things to the platform fighter is the stage development. Do you guys have any groundbreaking ideas for level and stage design?
Sure. So, stage design is one major issue that we've observed in the platform fighting genre. It's difficult to make a lot of unique stages that are fair and fun to play on, and we see stage lists slowly dwindle over time into a shorter list. And that's definitely one thing we want to be looking at when we're building out our stage list, is to make stages that are unique, fun, balanced, and also bring out the personality of the characters that those stages represent.
So we've already experimented a little bit with that. We basically created one set of assets for our first stage, and then we remixed it several different ways. So we could start testing those various things. And just a couple of weeks ago, we got in support for moving platforms and slope terrain and all of that. So we're exploring that already. It's just going to take some time to get a full stage list put together. But in the meantime, we can create, testable stages using the assets we already have, so we can figure out what does feel fun. And we actually already have a design that is a stage that you haven't seen before in the Smash series that the team thinks is fun and fair and balanced. So we're hoping to have that ready before I certify the game alpha.
All right, last question right here.
I've got a mechanics question for you guys. Edge hogging is awesome. It creates danger off the stage, but I'm kind of curious. It's also super anticlimactic in an esport, I think, when a game ends that way. Do you guys have any ideas to make, like, if you do use edge hogging, which I've seen on some of your ammo and stuff?
We can't hear the end of the question.
Oh, okay. If you do include edge hogging in your game, do you have any ideas to make it more visually exciting for spectators, since I feel like it's kind of an anticlimactic end to a match?
So one of the reasons I think Melee in particular is so incredibly watchable is no matter where somebody is at in terms of their health, if you are off the stage, you are in jeopardy. And we like that about the platform fighting genre. That is one of the reasons why when we brought our art director to EVO, he had just said, I'm super interested in this. I want to meet the team. I want to see what this is all about. He sat with us in the grand finals on Sunday and watched all of the stuff unfold, and he didn't get some of the other games that we were watching, but during Melee, he was getting into it. He was excited by it. And part of it, he's looked at me and said, I get it, right? If you're off the stage, you're in trouble. So it matters to us that we find a good way to do edge guarding. The idea of making it more watchable is actually a really great insight. It's something that we're exploring on a number of different fronts.
I just wrote that down. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Smash does a little bit about that, where you hear the crowd kind of like gasp if somebody's about to miss or, barely makes it back. I think there's probably some ways that we can do it better, but it's something that's going to take us time to explore. When we move past our alpha, where we've certified the game mechanics all work, now how do we sell those game mechanics to spectators, to casual players, and make sure that they can see it and understand it? Any other thoughts, guys? No?
Y'all, thank you so much for coming. It's really fantastic to see all of you out there. We have our social media profiles up here. We release a video blog every week that Jason and Adam are actually going to go record right after this. Follow us on Twitter. That's where the majority of the action happens. We tweet one of our commit messages every day that gives a little bit of a hint at what we're going to be doing. And we're actually going to be giving away this controller, this Wavedash controller, made by our friends over at Controller Chaos. You should check out their booth. We're going to give that away next week, so make sure you follow us before then. And yeah, thank you so much for coming. We're going to stick around a little bit to answer more questions. And of course, just reach out. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. Let's have a big round of applause. Absolutely.